What happens when one of music's most legendary voices sits down with late night, television's most unpredictable host, and the conversation takes a turn nobody saw coming? Tonight, we're diving deep into the explosive confrontation that had viewers glued to their screens and social media buzzing for weeks. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below with your thoughts, because trust me, you're going to have plenty to say about what went down. The atmosphere inside the Watch What Happens live studio felt different that evening. The lights were bright, the audience was buzzing, but there was an unspoken tension thick in the air. Chaka Khan, the 10-time Grammy winner and undisputed queen of funk, walked onto the set with her signature confidence. Her presence commanded the room before she even spoke a single word. Cohen sat behind his desk, wearing that familiar half-smile that viewers had come to recognize as a warning sign. It was the look that meant limits were about to be tested. Chaka Khan, the legend herself, Andy announced as she settled into the chair. "Thank you for being here tonight." "Thank you for having me," Chaka replied, her voice warm and smooth, though a hint of caution lingered beneath her words. "I've heard some interesting things about this show." Andy raised an eyebrow, smirking. "All good things, I hope." "Well," Chaka said, adjusting herself slightly, "I've been warned that you like to ask the questions other people won't ask." "Guilty as charged," Andy laughed. "But that's what makes good television." The moment felt playful, but something shifted when Andy leaned forward. "Let's talk about your recent comments on the music industry. You said today's artists care more about followers than talent." That caused quite a stir. The studio audience quieted instantly. Chaka's smile faded just a fraction. "I stand by what I said. Music used to be about soul. Now it feels manufactured, designed to go viral instead of touching hearts." Andy wasn't done. "Are you saying artists like Beyoncé, Rihanna, and Taylor Swift lack authenticity?" A beat of silence. Chaka tapped her fingers on the armrest. "Those are established artists. They paid their dues. I'm talking about people who think fame is owed to them." The energy had changed. What started as a routine interview had quietly turned into a confrontation waiting to erupt, and neither of them was backing down. Andy leaned back slightly, studying her with curiosity that bordered on challenge. "But you've worked with newer artists. You collaborated with Kanye West. You praised Drake. Isn't that a contradiction?" The question hung in the air. Chaka's jaw tightened, just barely noticeable to the casual viewer. "There's a difference between recognizing talent and endorsing the current state of the industry. Those artists respect the craft. They understand the history." "Fair enough," Andy nodded, though the glint in his eye said he wasn't finished. "Let's talk about history. Your history. You've had struggles, addiction, financial issues, legal battles. How do you criticize today's artists when your own career had controversy?" The studio went silent. Chaka's eyes flashed. Her voice stayed steady, but the warmth was gone. "You want to talk about predators, Andy? Let's talk about them. Let's talk about executives who stole publishing, forced artists to tour until they collapsed, and enabled addictions instead of offering help." Andy tried to keep control of the moment. "But doesn't that prove younger artists are smarter? They learn from what happened to legends like you." "Artists like myself?" Chaka repeated slowly. "I just mean artists who had to overcome things," Andy said quickly, but the tone felt careless. "You're calling my life mistakes," she said, her fingers gripping the chair. "I'm not judging." "But you are," Chaka cut in. "You're saying we should have known better, that our suffering was our fault." She leaned back, her gaze never leaving him. "You think today's Instagram stars understand that struggle? You think buying followers is the same as surviving an industry that tried to break you?" Andy shifted uncomfortably. For the first time, his confidence faltered. "I think they learned from your generation. My generation built the road they're walking on," she said. "We fought for respect. We fought for control. We fought to make art that meant something." The audience sat frozen. The tension was no longer subtle. It was heavy, alive, and dangerous. Andy tried to soften it. "I respect your legacy. I really do." "Then respect my truth," Chaka replied. And in that moment, the interview stopped feeling like entertainment and started feeling like a battle of worlds. Andy, refusing to surrender fully, tried to redirect the narrative. "But surely you see that today's artists have advantages. They can control their own stories, connect directly with fans, control their narrative." Chaka let out a laugh, but it carried no humor. Do you know what controlling your narrative really means, Andy? It means telling the truth even when it makes people uncomfortable. It means not letting hosts like you turn real lives into sound bites. The room felt colder. He tried again. Maybe some of this comes from generational disconnect? Every generation feels the next one is different. Are you saying I'm out of touch? Chaka asked. I'm saying things change. What doesn't change is respect, she replied. Without our foundation, none of this exists. Andy pushed back. But isn't innovation natural? New tools, new sounds. Do you think auto-tune is innovation? Chaka asked. Do you think manufacturing viral moments is art? That's not fair, he said, frustration finally showing. There are real artists today pushing boundaries. My era gave the world soul, she said. My era gave the world funk. My era gave the world artists who could sing live, play instruments, write music, and connect without filters and tricks. The word slipped from Andy's mouth before he could stop it. That sounds elitist. Silence. Chaka stood slowly, every movement controlled, her energy commanding the entire studio. The crowd seemed afraid to breathe. Elitist, she repeated quietly. You think expecting talent is elitist? He tried to defend himself, but it was too late. Standing tall, she said, elitist is thinking you can bring a legend here and spend the hour trying to tear her down. Her presence filled the set. Andy sat frozen. Elitist is believing you understand the trenches better than someone who's lived there for decades. The power dynamic had flipped completely. The host who thrived on discomfort now sat drowning in it, while the guests stood unshaken, and everyone watching knew something unforgettable was happening. Andy's voice came out smaller. I never meant to diminish your legacy. Significant, Chaka said. I've sold over 70 million records. I have 10 Grammys. I've influenced generations. And you want to debate me on real artistry? The cameras caught everything. The tension, the silence, the shift in power that no producer could have scripted. I wasn't trying to attack you, Andy said softly. I wanted an honest conversation. There's nothing honest about baiting someone for ratings, she replied. You wanted a viral moment. You wanted controversy. The truth sat between them, heavy and unmoving. She stepped closer to the desk. I came here excited to talk about my music, my projects, the beauty of real artistry. He looked up at her. We still can. She shook her head slowly. No, because now I see how you see me. Not as a treasure, but as a relic to challenge. She turned slightly toward the audience. I fought my whole life to be taken seriously. By executives. By critics. By people who thought they knew better than me. Looking back at Andy, her eyes hard but dignified, she said, I didn't fight all those battles to be lectured by someone who thinks provocation is journalism. Andy tried once more. Can we reset? Chaka paused, something soft flickering in her eyes for a split second. But the resolve returned. When it's time to walk away, you walk away with your dignity intact. She picked up her bag, adjusted herself, and with quiet power, turned toward the exit. The audience remained silent, unsure whether they had just witnessed a disaster or history. But one thing was certain, this was no longer just an interview. It was a moment no one in that studio would ever forget.